It looks as though Parliament are throwing out a skirmish line of dragoons of their own, coming out of the trees over to your right, and that has triggered the Royalist dragoons into going forward. Now these muskets, they're not the most accurate of weapons, so you tend to fire them in large numbers. The idea being, if you shoot into the centre of the enemy formation, if you saw the musket balls spread right and left, you should still hit something. The counter to that, as you're seeing here, is spread your men out, so there are more gaps for missing musket balls to go through than there are people for them to hit.
So you'll notice that as opposed to what you were seeing earlier, these musketeers, they're firing as they are loading. There's no intention to create a wall of firing. They're not trying to go hold ground. They're just trying to test the enemy's strength. It's a slightly different setup, as you will see. Oh, you've got one down already.
Sounds like a wasted time.
I'll bet you it wasn't the person he was aiming at, though.
Very rare he was.
Now, the reason I'm saying that is that the effective range of a musket is only about 50 to 75 paces, so call it meters. You can hit a man and you can do a lot of damage to them at anything up to 200 or 300 meters, but he's going to be unlucky because he almost certainly isn't the person you were aiming at.
The issue for the musketeers, of course, is that matchlock musket is a very simple piece of work. It's very easy and very quick to learn how to use one, which is one of the reasons they started to take over from the pike and from the bow and arrow, because archery is a real skill and everybody had to practice it on a regular basis. Much more accurate than a musket, but it took a lot longer to teach somebody how to use one. Mostly, about 15 minutes training, you could at least have a go with firing a musket, and then you could be in a body of men and do some damage.
The main body of Parliament appears to be coming onto the field. This is going to give the Royalist dragoons pause for thought. There is absolutely no way they can stand their ground against what's coming at them now.
Yeah, there'll be panic inside the walls of Colchester without a shadow of a doubt, because the thing about being besieged is that it's about holding on, it's about keeping your nerve. Food will have been getting low, water will have been getting short, other supplies will have been in trouble. And now you've got a group of people they're coming to try and take your town from you. And they look like they're very determined.
The defenders of Colchester will be somewhat relieved to see that they have reinforcements coming up from the left. This may well be parties that were out foraging earlier who've been called back in some haste.
Good day, sir. How are you?
It's a good day for clearing Colchester of these rebels.
And you think that's an easy job to do?
We had a bit of a go yesterday. We've come back with stronger forces. We've got more ammunition. We're definitely in a better mindset to come and actually sort this problem once and for all.
Well, I wish you best for the day, sir.
And we've got another body of parliamentary troops coming up along the crowd line. If you look carefully, you'll see that there's a body of musketeers, and they don't appear to be supported by any troops with pike. Pike are the long spears. They're an anti-cavalry weapon and can also be used against infantry. The idea is that the musketeers do the real damage, and the pikemen are used to close assault the enemy once they've been weakened by musket fire, or to defend the musketeers if they're attacked by cavalry, and in a last resort to hold ground while the musketeers retire and reload. Being a pikeman is regarded as more honourable than being a musketeer, and they're often described as the gentleman of the pike. A musketeer, on the other hand, is dirty and smelly, mainly because of the gunpowder, which smells of rotten eggs, but partly because they probably haven't been able to get a decent wash in days. Now this does look like a determined body of men closing upon me. They have drums, they have flutes playing, and I think they're going to march straight through where I am.
Good day, sir. How goes it?
Good day, sir.
And
It's a fine day.
you seem very confident and chirpy.
Have you seen the quality of my entourage?
Yes, they look a fine body of men.
Have you seen the dismal state of our opposition?
Well, to be honest, sir, I've just been talking to them and they do not feel despondent.
They are party to lies, party to rumours. They do not realise what they're facing.
Well, I wish you all the best for the day, sir.
What you're hearing of my microphone are the massed drums and 5 players. The drum is both used to give instructions to the men when an officer's voice cannot be heard over the din of battle, but it also is a useful aid on long marches as it gives you the timing for marching. And it's amazing how it helps when you're tired, you're thirsty, to keep you going, because all you have to do is lift a foot up in time with the drum and the Lord God will put the other one down for you. What you've just seen is a salve, that is all of the muskets firing at one time. It's a really useful tactic because it throws a lot of lead at your opponent, but it has one weakness. Every one of your guns is empty. You now need probably 30 to 40 seconds to reload. And if there's any marauding cavalry about, a horse can cover a lot of ground in those 30 or 40 seconds.
So far, this has all been about the shot. I can't see any pike anywhere.
I'm sure it's lurking somewhere.
Second rank will close! Present! Check your scouring sticks. Open your pads for cock. Get fire!
Wow.
Interestingly, some of these musketeers are using the very latest technology, the doglock musket. It's a very early form of flintlock, sometimes also known as the English lock. A flintlock should be more reliable because they don't have to use a length of burning match cord, which can be put out in the damp and in the rain. But to be absolutely honest, neither type of musket is particularly reliable if there's a lot of moisture or rain in the air.
I can see the pikemen of the Parliament Army entering the field now. They're all carrying their pikes at the trail, which would suggest they've had quite a long march to get here.
It might also suggest that they've actually been keeping their pikes low, so they couldn't be seen.
Yes, that's true.
Of course, if they come through woods, an 18-foot long stick pointed into the air is a
Present your
little tricky.
pieces. Prepare to give fire. Give fire!
And in response to the sight of Parliament's masked pike bodies coming forward, here are their opposite numbers from the Royalist side, colours flying proudly at their head.
So far this has been a combat between bodies of guns, really. I haven't heard anything very much from the artillery yet, although I'm fully expecting that to start. Now we've got more men on the field, they're going to need the artillery to clear some space. But we have now been moved on. We've got the pike joining them, and the pike will be here principally to help defend the musketeers whilst they take their opportunity to load. It's going to make things a little bit more tricky. It becomes less of a fight about who can load the fastest. It becomes a fight about who can manoeuvre their troops the most accurately. And we've also got groups of cavalry now on the field as well. So this is going to become complicated with all the different moving parts of a 17th century army in play.
With one of Parliament's cannon crews. So I was talking to a gunner earlier on, and he was saying his cannon, which was smaller than yours, would be firing grape shot into the enemy. Wouldn't be used to pound the walls. Would this piece be used to pound the walls?
Yeah, so this piece could be used if it wanted to. It could fire a ball about 3/4 of a mile. In this battle, we probably wouldn't be using grape shot, however, because we're quite close to our enemies. We want to scatter them as much as possible.
I see. Well, I'll wait on with bated breath. Thank you very much, sir.
And directly in front of you, you can see the ensigns of both armies flourishing their colours. Essentially, this is a hand signal which is saying, come and have a go if you think you're hard enough.
It was also a way of identifying which regiments were here, because they would have a reputation as whether or not they were any good, whether or not they were a group of soldiers to be feared. And that becomes equally important, particularly as on the Parliament side, we have the new model army, this new streamlined professional force that is striking fear into the hearts of the Royalist side, because they are a very different group of people than their opposition. And they're led by a remarkable figure, Thomas Fairfax, who is not only a strategic commander, but also a very honourable man.
One of the things for you to remember when you try to get inside the mindset of the men who fought in the British Civil Wars is their backgrounds. The vast majority of them were agricultural labourers who had lived in very small settlements. They'd never heard anything louder than the church bells or thunder, and now they have to hear this.
So, young man, why are you here?
We are here to fight for Parliament, fight for our cause.
Which is?
Against tyranny, the tyranny of King Charles.
Well, I think you'd find a few thousand opposite you that wouldn't call him a tyrant.
I would say they were wrong.
Fair enough, sir. I wish you joy for the day. Hello, young man.
Hello.
And why are you here?
To slay the Royalists.
As simple as that, is it?
Yes.
Well, I wish you luck.
The drums are starting to beat again. This probably signifies pike blocks getting ready to go into action. They're used to build the martial courage of these men, to send signals, to basically beat time on what they're doing, whether they're marching forward or marching backwards. Both sides are just holding off. They're taking a moment. They're looking at their opposition. They're weighing up how likely they are to put up a stiff fight. You listen to the battle cries. If they're still shouting cries, then they're in good heart. It's also a way of telling which side they're on, because the uniforms are not uniforms as we know them now. There's not a lot of difference between them other than the colour of the scarf, the sash that the officers and the NCOs are wearing, the flags themselves, and essentially the battle cries. You can guarantee if somebody is shouting, no popery, no bishops, one king, King Jesus, they're not a close personal supporter of King Charles I. On the other hand, if they're crying God and the cause, the king and the laws, they're probably not big fans of Oliver Cromwell and Sir Thomas Fairfax.
There we go, we've got the artillery starting to engage as well. As that was the Parliament battery at the base of the field. There they go again. We'll see what the answer is from the Royalist side within the city walls.
The pike blocking to me now are doubling their frontage. That means they're putting extra men from the rear ranks towards the front ranks, which means that they're a much tighter, much more compact formation. And it's what you do just before you go forward into combat. I can also see the musketeers have clubbed their butts. In other words, they're about to use them not as a firearm, but as a close combat weapon. Now, these muskets, especially the matchlocks, are as near to a soldier-proof weapon as you can get. They only really have 3 moving parts. The trigger, a bar inside the lock which is pushed up by the trigger, which operates a cam that moves the serpent down and the match cord down with it, into the pan where the loose powder is that ignites the main charge. If you break that by hitting, I don't know, a Royalist over the head with it, you can still fire that musket by simply putting the match into the pan by hand. If you're unlucky enough to break the pan off, well, A, don't hit the Royalists quite so hard, and B, there's going to be plenty of spare muskets lying around before the end of the day.
No Popery! King Jesus!
This is a radical bunch of soldiers.
London Liberty!
I suspect there may be levellers and even ranters within their ranks.
A pox on the king!
Well, this group of men seem to be in sound voice.
I'm looking across the field now and I see no sign of either side being prepared to give up their cause. Bodies of troops are advancing and nobody is giving ground.
I think, David, we can see the pike are going into action. They've been holding in reserve, but they're now going into butcher pike. I hope that's the same at your end, but you see the spectacular size of the pikes going over and going into head level to their opposition. This is the very first stage of pike fighting, and it means as well that we've got the bodies of troops moving in on each other.
And that's happening where I am now.
For a while, and they are now moving in, so this is going to be a real clash between them.
I am actually in the middle of one of these pike blocks.
The musketeers have now what they call clubbed their muskets. They've turned their muskets upside down and are using the butt of the weapon to be a weapon of its own. Now they're very heavy, these clubs, and they can do a lot of damage if applied in the right direction.
Well, this is quite chaotic in the middle of all this.
It's very much the same over here. I couldn't give you a clear indication as to who is winning or who is losing. Neither side seems to be prepared to give ground, and the musketeers are intermingled and they're attacking each other from all directions.
And now we've got engagement from the cavalry, so the heavy forces are going to come in, and they're going to first of all see the cavalry engage with each other, and eventually, once they get sorted with that, they will almost certainly turn on the infantry.
And I'm now looking for a nice big pike block to hide inside of. As I said earlier, the pike is a formidable anti-cavalry weapon. The pike will form into a circle, sometimes called a hedgehog, sometimes called a pike stand. They will ground the butt end of their pike on the floor so that it can't be moved, and level the point at the height of the horse's chest. Now, the horse, being the smarter of the two people involved in that piece of military technology, will not charge into contact with the ring of steel that the pikes form. Well, I'm now in the middle of a pike block. You can hear the drums beating for charge to horse. The horses are so close you can hear the jingle of the bridles and smell the sweat of the horses and the riders. Actually, I can smell the sweat of the pikemen as well from here. The horse are getting clear, the body is reforming. You heard the command, reform 6 wide. That tells the front rank how many files, that's the rank, the line of soldiers from front to back, form up in. And the pike block has gone straight back into combat here. This is very hot work indeed. Now, you're sat in the crowd line in your t-shirts and your shorts and your sun hats. And you're warm. Imagine just for a moment how hot it is out here in a thick woolen jerkin, carrying your military equipment and running up and down. Seems that some of the Royalist troopers are not quite so keen for the fight today. They're being kicked and harangued by their officers for being shirkers and lying down pretending to be dead to get out of the fighting. I have to be fair, in the middle of all this, I have absolutely no idea who is winning, who thinks they're winning, and I'm going to try and find some of the commanders and get some opinions.
From where I'm stood, Dave, I've got a pretty good view of everything. Neither army has actually moved at all.
No popery! Who is our king? King Jesus! London and liberty! Freedom and prosperity! Freedom and prosperity! And the prosperity!
I don't think there's much doubt about where those lads come from.
And I've just seen a very interesting sight. I've seen somebody change sides. One of the Parliamentary musketeers has just transferred himself to one of the Royalist blocks. I wonder what he knows that we don't.
I'm with the Royalist commander now. Sir, you are?
Lieutenant Colonel George, sir. We're holding this right flank for the King.
And how's it going?
We are holding the attack by these troopers coming in on us. We are not at all worried at this stage. We have plenty of shot left with us, and we are holding them very sturdily. However, their pike may be outnumbering us, so we'll have to keep a close eye on their horse so they do not overwhelm us.
Sage words there. So it doesn't appear that the Royalists are overly concerned about the course of the action so far.
So tell me, sir, how goes it at the moment?
Today is looking good. My men are fresh, my men are well fed. They have the attitude and the ability. We'll take the day.
Well, I wish you well, sir.
I'm with the Commander-in-Chief of the new model army now, Sir Thomas Fairfax. Sir, how goes the day and what are your plans?
We are testing them at the moment. We're seeing how their defences hold, and what we're looking to do is press them where they're weakest.
Always a sound move. Do you believe you'll be able to take the city this day?
That is our plan. Expect no quarter.
You're praying, you're hoping that God is with you?
Our God is always with the righteous, and we are definitely righteous men.
There you heard it directly from Sir Thomas Fairfax. He believes the Lord God favours his cause, he believes his men are well trained, and he believes he will have the city in his hands before nightfall.
Are you all as confused as us?
Well, I certainly am.
Well, that's battle for you.
You begin to see the confusion and the smoke, why things like the regimental standards was so important, because it helps you to see where your officers are, where you have to rally to if your formation breaks. The drums will also help you, because looking to where you're hearing the drums come from, they should be close to your standard, and you should therefore be able to retire and reform.
The fighting at the centre of the field has become very vicious. I've seen my first pike push, and there was a point of push that had actually got to the stage where the pikemen had dropped their pikes and were just thumping each other. These are people who've got a cause to fight for and a point to prove.
Oh, a point with a pike to prove. Ha ha, that's a good one.
Like I said earlier, I'll be here all week.
Yeah, here all week. Enjoy the fish.
Tippy waitress.
There's a little bit of a lull in the centre of the line. Both sides appear to be replenishing their bandoliers of charges, what you may have heard called apostles. They said that they were known as apostles because each musketeer would carry 12 bottles with a measured charge of gunpowder in them. In actual fact, they would carry anything between 16 and 20 bottles. And their technical name is a bandolier of charges. I have to say, so far, the musketry has not been very effective, but they're engaging at long range for these weapons. They're smooth-bore, not like modern firearms, which are rifles, which imparts a spin to the bullet, which means it's much more accurate and carries further. These use a loose-fitting musket ball for ease of loading, and as they fire, it sort of bounces back and forth down the barrel. So you're never quite sure which direction it's going in as it leaves the barrel, other than it's vaguely forward. Watching this firefight, I have to say, and it may be my imagination, but the Royalists seem to be slowing down their rate of fire, and either they're waiting to get close in where their shooting will be much more effective, or perhaps they're starting to get low on powder and they're conserving it.
Well, the Parliament pike box are certainly having the better of it at this end of the field.
That may not be the case on the right of where the audience are watching, as I can see the Oxford Tertio are pushing forward against this, I think it's the City of London Brigade. Certainly they were all shouting London and Liberty. Oh dear, horses. I'm just going to stand very still for a moment.
Lyle's own personal regiment are getting pushed backwards all the time by what looks like Manchesters and St. Seals.
One of the ways we can tell which regiment is which is by the colour of their coats, because the colonel would buy a job lot of material and have coats made up. I think it was one size fits all, but it allowed you to tell whose regiment you were part of. So over on the left of the crowd line, you'll see a body of pikemen in a mixture of white and yellow coats. The white coats are Newcastle's, and the yellow are some Norwich Rawdon's regiment. It's a lot harder on the Parliament side because the new model army equipped everybody with red coats and what were known as sad-coloured breeches. In other words, grey, brown, anything but a bright colour. The only way you could tell them apart was by the colour of the lining of the jacket or the turn-backed cuff of the jacket where the lining showed. And to be fair, if you're close enough to take notice of that, you're probably far closer to them than is safe. And the musket block to my front is really pouring in fire now. They're using what is known as Swedish salve. That is where the front rank kneels and the remaining ranks close over the top of the front rank, which allows a huge volume of firepower to be poured into the enemy's ranks. The other methods of using a musket are either by drawing forth one rank, that's a line of soldiers from side to side of the body, and just firing them and then returning them to the rear of the block to reload, which allows you to keep up a steady, sustained fire, or an interesting tactic known as forlorn files. The file is a line of troops from the front or the back, because every soldier is stood as if they're in a square on a chessboard. With a forlorn file, you march a file forward, turn it to the left or the right, so it becomes a rank in effect. They fire and then march around the other side of the block and back to their places. Again, it allows you to keep up a sustained rate of fire, and it's actually quite useful if you're in cover and you can move them forward through a gate, fire and then move them back again. It keeps the rest of the block, well, not quite safe, but a little safer. One of the things we're quite keen for our reenactors to do out here is to take on plenty of water. And one group of unsung heroes are our water carriers, the baggage train. They carry water, and in lulls in the fighting, they will go and they'll pass water around the troops to keep them hydrated. On a really good day, they might even have a packet of sweeties.
If you've got a good musketeer commander, they'll always have some jelly babies.
Oh, jelly. Now we're talking. I don't know how long the armies can keep this up. This is blisteringly hot. It's hot and thirsty work for the men involved, so despite taking water on, they can lose 2 or 3 pints of whatever they take on board during the course of a reenactment. Certainly when we get back to the campsite, one sight you will see is lots and lots of jackets and shirts hanging on the back of cars, on chairs, drying out.
So tell me, sir, how's it going for you today?
It's
hot day, but we are carrying on fighting. We're sending out our best troops to relieve the siege of Colchester. We feel victorious today.
Well, I was just talking to your counterparts in the Royalist army, and they said pretty much the same.
We are assured that God is on our side. Keep fighting.
Very good, sir. I just wondered who's on God's side.
Or if God is on anybody's side. This appears to be a godless business to me. The murdering of your fellow man. Not just your fellow man, but fellow Englishman. Under their leading arm, where there's a gap under the back and breastplate, or at the top of the thigh or the throat, and it takes some skill to place the point of a spear that is 18 foot long in a target as small as that. Quite often, as you can see to your front, an attack at point develops into a pushing and a shoving match. Men in the front ranks quite often are lifted off their feet. Men in the rear ranks will drop pikes, draw sidearms, knives, short swords, axes, even clubs, and get in amongst the fighting. I'm not seeing any great sign that either side are intending giving up this fight. Pikemen are still going forward, muskets are still blazing. Now, I've mentioned one group of unsung heroes, that's the camp followers who carry the water, but there's another group out here, and that is the SK Medical Service. They wear a black tabard with a white cross upon it, and they are our own purpose-built battlefield medics. They make sure that we're not dehydrated, they carry an ample stock of rehydrate back at their medical tent, and they're able to deal with any minor injuries we may have, like twists or sprains. Like the rest of us, they're all volunteers. The difference is that they have some medical or first aid training. To modernise it might look a little odd when you keep seeing the pike blocks fighting and then drawing apart, forming up and going back in again, but this is actually the way it was done. At Edge Hill, there were accounts from the Prince of Wales, no less, of pike formations doing exactly this, going forward, fighting in vicious hand-to-hand melees, and then spontaneously breaking up, drawing apart some tens of yards, and literally having a breather. One of the problems that the defenders are going to have is that they know that if they're summoned, as it is termed, to surrender the town, they only get 3 chances. If they fail to surrender after the 3rd summoning, then they've gone beyond the normal bounds of the rules of 17th century warfare. They're forcing a storm, and a storm means a great loss of life amongst the attacking troops. And by tradition and the rules of war, the attackers will be allowed 24 hours of license to loot, pillage, and do other less speakable things to the defenders and to the inhabitants. By and large, however, the new model army has been pretty good at maintaining its discipline when they've had to take a town. And for the sake of the inhabitants of Colchester, I hope that continues. Looks to me as though the two armies are separating, that the new model is reforming its battle lines, ready for what will probably be a final push. I actually quite expect that Sir Thomas will seek to have words with either Lyle or Lucas to try and see whether he can settle this without further bloodshed.
I'm with Sir Thomas Fairfax now. Would you like me to ask him?
Yes, that would be nice.
Sir Thomas, do you have any plans to negotiate with Sir George Lyle?
Entirely. We are not made. We will be sending a drummer forward shortly to ask for a parley where we will present terms for their surrender.
If you're on the right-hand end of the crowd line, you'll be able to hear a very slow and steady drum chorus going bum, bum, bum. That's to mark time for a body of pikemen who are retiring while still facing the enemy.
I'm going to go with the drummers who are calling for a parley.
So, it looks to me like what we're doing is part of that gentlemanly warfare thing, or a parley. Now, those of you who are fans of Pirates of the Caribbean will be familiar with the term, but it just means a conversation. So the first thing that happens is that the drummers come out and they negotiate whether or not their commanders are willing to come and have a conversation. At that point, if they agree, the commanders will meet in the middle of the field. Now, sometimes these conversations can take quite a long time, and somebody will come out with a glass of wine. I doubt today that's going to be the case.
Certainly, I'm not getting a glass of wine off anybody.
So the conversation is going on between the drummers at the moment. You can see that there is flourishing and the drums are still going, so the men are still indicating they are willing to fight. That means that it's very likely that any offers between the commanding officers are going to be judged on whether or not they have the capacity for these men to keep fighting. And I would say that they do. So the drummers are coming back to their officers, and we'll see if they actually meet up.
We'll try
Quite
and...
a tense moment, actually, to do with whether or not these men are willing to talk to each other. Because it is a gentlemanly war. These people may well have known each other socially.
Well, Sir Thomas Fairfax is going forward, so I assume
Yes,
that
we've
the
got both
decision...
sides moving forward.
As is Sir
So
George
there is
Lyle.
going to be a conversation. I see that Sir Thomas Fairfax is putting on all the colours.
He's intending showing just how many regiments of foot the Royalists are up against, I believe.
Sir, will you remove yourself and your troops from our town? You're very, very inconvenient.
Today, sir, we've come to clear this Royalist scourge from this country once and for all. This is the last holdout of the Royalist factions that look to restore the monarchy.
As is right, in the eyes of God, in the eyes of the King.
It has gone against you so far, sir. It will not change. I am here today with kindness in my heart to offer you these terms. At the conclusion of your siege, common soldiers will be granted quarter. They will be disarmed and given passes to go home, swearing an oath not to fight against Parliament. You, sir, as a senior officer, and your other senior officers, will be surrendered to my mercy. And the town, for having harboured such fugitives, will be released from that state by a payment of £12,000. How say you, sir? Are these terms acceptable?
These terms are not acceptable. I would be remiss in my duty to my King, to my God, to allow you to take this town. We will not surrender.
Then, sir, you face the consequences of your actions this day.
As you wish, sir.
The idea is that they will hit the enemy as one unified block of pikemen.
And they are pushing up close against the walls of Colchester. This is where the ancient walls of the city are going to assist the Royalist cause, or else they're going to be a barrier that will prevent them from escaping.
Pikes are coming down now. It's going to get messy in a moment. And the City of London Brigade are going forward now. Pike and shot.
It's very clear the walls are now the objective. They're pushing hard, there are bodies all over the place, but it's the walls that are going to matter now.
From where I am, I can see that the pike attack has actually pushed the defending pike blocks further back than their musket supports who are in real danger of being outflanked. Surely they'll fall back in line with their pike now, because where they are is really quite a dangerous position.
The question is, will the gates of the city hold?
I think from the point of view of individual soldiers, the question is, will the gates of the city open and let them in?
Well, I can see Thomas Ballard. I can see Thomas Ballard coming on, and there's nothing to stop them. There's no Royalist units here at all.
Parliament are pushing forward all along the line now. I could see that some of Newcastle's and some of Rawdon's launched a death or glory charge, and sadly the result was death. The ground is littered with their bodies.
And I've just seen the gates have been forced open.
Yes, the city gates are open, but there's not many men in here to defend them. Well, they're supposed to be getting their own troops in, but all I can see is Parliament troops.
Some of Newcastle's are breaking and running for the gates. I think they think there's safety within the city, but I'm not convinced about that.
No, I can't see any way that that is safe. There's more of Newcastle's are pouring into the gates. Interestingly enough, what's his name? Sir George Lisle has disappeared.
I can see a lot of dead bodies on the front. Civilians moving amongst them, looting the bodies, checking the bodies for whatever valuables that they have.
I have to say, if this is a glorious victory, it's a terrible sight to see the aftermath of it, and I'd hate to see the aftermath of a defeat.
And I suppose from the Royalist point of view it is.
Well, I'm trapped inside the castle with the Royalist forces. And looking around, there's a lot of desperate-looking faces. People are absolutely shattered. They've given it their all. They've got nothing left. And they seem to be leaderless. I can't see any senior officers anywhere.
The Parliament forces will be very pleased though, because it means that they can get inside the city, take advantage of the luxuries that might be there.
There are Parliament in the castle now. They've forced the gate open and are working their way in.